Yo, what is up guys? So we're going to be going over a bunch of new rulings for a bunch of new Yu-Gi-Oh cards coming out into the game. And anyways, these are all official. These are really not up for debate here. They are, unless of course they get ratted in the future. But all the sources for all of these will be linked down below, and you guys can check on each individual one. Just as a heads up, I will be shortening up some of the card text just because we're only here to go over like what's the ruling part of the effect on the new card coming out in the game. But anyways, the first one that we are going to be going over is Double Cross Frog. So Double Cross Frog has this effect where if there are exactly 2 Double Cross Frogs in your opponent's main monster zones, you get to take control of all monsters between them. And then the argument was, do you also get to take their link monsters in the extra deck zone? And the answer is no, it only considers the main monster zones. If there is a link or extra deck monster that's in the main monster zone, you can take control over it, but you do not get to take control over the extra deck zone, which is like the link monster zone. Like the first link monster you'd be going for, the extra deck, meaning the 2 in the very middle. You do not get to actually take control over your opponent's monsters if they are in that zone, unless specifically there's a new card that considers the extra deck monster zone in the main monster zone. So this can only actually take the main monsters, because it does say take control of all monsters between them. That's just how it's ruled, guys. It does say in your opponent's main monster zones, but that's just the way that works, okay? So, anyways, next up, though, Metaphase Decoy Dragon. We're going to be using its Pendulum Effect here. So, its Pendulum Effect says when your monster is targeted for an attack, you get to target one of your Metaphase monsters that is banished from your graveyard, banish this card, and if you do, special summon that monster in attack position. You can only use this effect of Metaphase Decoy Dragon once per turn. The ruling on it, when you're trying to special summon Metaphase Daedalus and get Metaphase Daedalus' effect, does it work with the Pendulum Effect? The answer is yes. So, Metaphase Daedalus has the effect of, if it's special summoned by the effect of a Metaphase monster, you can banish all face-up special monsters on the field. So this is basically what we're going for as far as the effect goes. So, this card over here, it must be special summoned by a monster. The question was, well, if you're using its Pendulum Effect, would that be a spell, or would that actually work with a monster? Because it has another monster effect, but again, I'm kind of shortening up the text here. But to answer it, yes, the Pendulum Effect will still count as a monster effect, so therefore, your Metaphase Daedalus will get its effect to actually blow up everything. Next up, Dragoon II Couse over here. The question was, if I negate its effect, can I utilize it for a non-Dragoon monster? And the answer is no. So, Dragoon II Couse has the effect where it cannot be used as synchro material except for the synchro summon of a Dragoon monster. It has another effect, but I just want to go over like the base core effect that people were asking about as far as the ruling goes. There's a lot of cards like this. However, there are cards that allow you to still utilize it as a separate monster. If it says like you can only use this monster for this type of a summon, if you use Skill Drain and also negate its effect, sometimes you can, but in the case of this card, you cannot use it as synchro material. Even if you Skill Drain or negate its effect, it's just how it's going to be ruled. Anyways, next up, the Gokey Double Team, or any Gokey monster that has an optional effect. So let me go ahead and explain this. So it says if this card is sent to the graveyard for a link summon of a Gokey link monster, you can make that Gokey link monster gain 1,000 attack until the end of this turn. The question was, if I had double team, so if I had 2 of these, would I be able to increase the Gokey's attack double? Or I guess twice is what I should say. So the answer is yes, and on top of that, other Gokey's effects, even if they are an optional effect, you still can actually stack the effects. Granted, that is as long as the Gokey doesn't say like you can only activate this once per duel or something like that. You can stack the effects of either the same one, or if you have different ones that increase or decrease separate integers, you can use multiple Gokeys regardless if it's the same one or not. The next question and ruling is for the new DEVI rituals. So the DEVI ritual candle, as well as the other DEVI ritual monster, if they happen to make more, but I think there's probably only going to be 2. So anyways, it has the effect where you should reveal 1 ritual spell card from your hand to special summon both this card from your hand and 1 DEVI ritual monster from your deck, except for candle. And then if this card is special summoned from the deck, you get this other bonus effect. The question was, if someone was to activate something that would change the number of monsters, meaning that you do not have room to actually special summon the other card, do you still get the effect of being able to add the other card via the second effect? And the answer is no. You would have to actually pull off the effect. If you cannot successfully go for the effect of summoning the other DEVI ritual, you're not going to be able to add the other card. But that should be self-explanatory. But again, it was just a ruling that I thought might be relevant in case, because they keep on releasing a lot of ritual support. Anyways, the next scenario over here is Dragoon Sonatas over here. So it has the effect where you get to discard one Dragoon equip card to equip one Dragoon tuner from your deck to this card. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the X deck for the rest of the turn except for dragon monsters. You can only use this effect of it once per turn. And then that has a second effect, which I'll go over in just a second, but I want to go over a ruling on the first effect. So if you're using its effect to equip a Dragoon card, and it gets Book of Moon, what's interesting with this one is you don't even get to equip the card. I thought the equip card would have just been destroyed if they were to Book of Moon it via using its effect. But the thing is, you don't even get to equip that card in the first place. So that'd be like if you summon it, you activate its effect, it gets Book of Moon. You don't even get to attempt to equip. It just goes straight face down. You don't get to equip the Dragoon monster. Will not go to the graveyard, which I thought was interesting. And then the other question with this card is part of its second effect. So the second effect is if a Dragoon card or cards you control will be destroyed battle by card effect, you get to destroy one Dragoon card equipped to this card instead. The question is if you blow up the field, let's use Judgment Dragon as an example here, and this card would be a target, plus the other card that's equipped to it would be a target, or it would be a target that would actually be destroyed as well. Can you protect those? The answer is no. If the other card would be destroyed, so example, you have Sonatas here, he also has an equip, and Judgment Dragon blows up the field. Could you save Dragoon Sonatas? The answer is no, because both targets would actually be destroyed. Anyways, next up, it doesn't really matter the monster. The question was with really Celestial Sexton over here. So Celestial Sexton is a normal spell card that says place one level 6 monster from your hand or face up on your field to the bottom of the deck to draw 2 cards. You can only activate one of them per turn. The question was if the level of that monster has actually changed. Let's say, for example, Destroy Lost Dragon's version. If this card was a card that would actually change its level, which this card does change this level, can you use it as a target? The answer is yes. I'm not sure why this one was really here, but sometimes there are cards, like I mentioned before, where even if you like get rid of or change some of the things, the card still needs like it has like base like I guess effect that would be applied. Okay. They used Axe Raid as an example for this one, so I'm going to use it too. Alright, so anyways, the question was, it's more so with Sword of Toxic Solitude and Megamorph. This is basically the cards in question. The card that's we're using as an example is Axe Raid. It doesn't have an effect, it's a vanilla monster. But the question was, what happens if you use Sword of Toxic Solitude plus Megamorph? Okay, so first off, Sword of Toxic Solitude. I actually made a video showing off how to like one-shot your opponent with this card. I'll actually link it down below if any of you guys want to check it out. But anyways, Sword of Toxic Solitude says, equip only to a monster you control. If the equipped monster battles a monster, double its original attack and defense during that damage calculation. If you control a monster other than the equipped monster you send to the graveyard, you can only control one Sword of Toxic Solitude. Now, Megamorph has the ability to double the original attack of the monster. So, Megamorph says, while your life point is lower than your opponent's, the equipped monster's attack is double its original attack. While your life point is higher, the equipped monster attack becomes half its original attack. We're just going to go over the other effect, the first part of its effect. We're not going to be counting if it happens to be actually be smaller, because at that point it would be actually neutral, and I'll explain that in a second. So, first off, again, Axe Raider would be the target here. So, if you were to equip Sword of Toxic Solitude and Megamorph, what happens to the monster? What applies first is kind of the question here. So, what would actually happen is Sword of Toxic Solitude actually applies first because it actually procs during the damage calculation, and then you'll actually double that attack via the effect of Megamorph. Because I guess some people would argue because it's the original attack of the monster on like kind of both of them, it would just be normal, like as in the monster would not actually get to basically quadruple its attack. But it actually does work. So if you use Sword of Toxic Solitude, this effect will apply first. It will then double Axe Raider's attack. Then Megamorph will then change its actual stats. Because keep in mind, again, this is during damage calculation only. So basically you'll be quadrupling your damage of the monster. So they do work and they do essentially stack. But Sword of Toxic Solitude would technically be applying first. Because this is changing, and then of course Megamorph will then change its attack. So that's kind of cool. You can actually pull off a lot more OTKs than I thought possible with that combo. It might be something that some other cheesy deck might see play. Alright, this one's actually important for any people that want to utilize Sears Passbook. So Sears Passbook By the way, guys, I want to mention something important. I don't know if they updated it on Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro, but originally this card, let me actually double check on this card, because this is actually something important. Sears Passbook. Okay, important thing. As you guys see over here in the top left, it shows that it is a quick play. Okay, the card is actually not a quick play. It's just like, I guess, an error in the image. But it is not a quick play. That's something that's pretty important because I was setting it. I'm like, I couldn't activate it during my opponent's turn. And the reason why is it's not a quick play. Anyways, on with the card. So Sears Passbook says banish 3 cards from the top of your deck face down during your 3rd standby phase. After this card's activation, add those 3 banished cards to your hand. You can only activate 1 Sears Passbook per turn. So the question was, can you Ash Blossom it? Because Ash Blossom prevents your opponent from adding a card. Now this card just banishes them and then it adds them later on. So you cannot Ash Blossom this card. So that's kind of good. That's basically making this card even better. Now the next question is, what happens to one of those cards? Let's say one of those cards gets put back in the graveyard, but gets added to your hand, whatever the case may be. For this example, we're going to use Cyframe Lord Omega to put back one of those cards that is actually banished. What would happen is it does say add those 3 banished cards. It's not up to 3. So if one of the cards gets changed in any shape or form, like let's say put back your deck, you draw it, whatever, you do not get to add the remaining 2, the remaining 1. So it has to be, it's 3 or nothing with this card. So that's just a heads up. And then lastly over here, this is actually an interesting interaction. This is the Deep Grave. So it's a regular trap card that says target 1 monster in either player's graveyard during your next standby phase, special summon it. The thing that is actually interesting is, let's say, Vanity's Emptiness, I'm aware it's banned in the TCG, but let's say Archer Christie or any card that says you cannot special summon. You can actually still activate this card, which is interesting. Because remember, it doesn't come back to the next standby phase. So if your opponent has Vanities, you can still activate this card. And then if Vanities was to say go away, or let's say Archer Christie, or any card really that stops you from special summoning, if that card goes away, you would still be able to attempt to special summon that monster later. But yeah, you can still actually activate the card, which sometimes you can't even activate cards if like the condition can't be met, but that's kind of interesting interaction. But anyways, that's it for the new rulings, guys. Like I said, I'll link it down below for any of you guys that do want the sources. I remember last time in my video, some people were arguing about these rulings, guys. You can't really argue about these rulings unless, of course, they errata the cards in the future and they change how the card is ruled. These are the official rulings, and like I said, I'll link it down below. But those are some pretty interesting rulings. Let me know, guys, if you guys were surprised by any of the ones that we talked about. Some of them were kind of surprising to me, especially with Double Cross Fraud, because it does say in your opponent's main monster zones, but it does say take control of it. So I was kind of surprised by that one. But like I said, if it's an extra deck monster that is still in the main monster zone, you still get to take control over it. But anyways, those are the rulings, guys. Hopefully you learned something new. And if you enjoyed the vid, drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button to see more new rulings on new Yu-Gi-Oh cards, because I think it's important, especially when we argue on Dueling Network. And also, it's important if you guys compete in tournaments to be updated on the latest Yu-Gi-Oh rulings. But those are the ones I wanted to go over. There are a few more if you guys want to read, but they're very, very, very like either A, self-explanatory, or so conditional that good luck, good luck running to that scenario. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys, and I am signing out.